Hello, and welcome to the Alpha Male Podcast. I don't think that I have to tell anybody in the audience that there's a war against strong, dominant masculinity in today's society and culture. I'm here to tell you it's okay to be what you were created to be, a strong, dominant alpha male. Imago Dei, made in the image of God. Is God not strong, dominant, and in control? Are you not made in His image? Don't try and fit in the mold that popular culture and society is trying to force you into, a weak beta male mold. Alpha males, by their very nature, don't fit in. They stand out. That's what the word holy means, to be set apart. Be what you were created to be, strong, dominant. Heed the calling to be what you were made to be, and don't accept anything less. With that, we'll get into my bio and who this guy is that's talking to you. Who I am? First and foremost, I am a Christian. I make no apologies for that. I grew up in the southeastern United States, what most would consider poor. Grew up hunting and fishing and shooting at a very early age. I joined the Marine Corps at 17. I did combat tours, plural, in Iraq. After that, I was an urban warfare instructor for the United States Marine Corps. After the Marine Corps time, I went to work for LAPD, where I worked regular assignments and more specialized assignments. I've also been a private contractor for the federal government. I've also served the United States Army, both full-time and part-time National Guard. I have been a state rifle and pistol champion in a few different states, a few different times over. I started shooting competitions even before I joined the Marine Corps at 17. I am very blessed to have all those talents, and I am very blessed that God got me through everything that He's gotten me through alive and in one piece and made it back safely when a lot of other good men did not. Not because of anything that I am, but because of who God has made me and because of how much God has protected me and sheltered me. I have served as the commander of a tactical team in a large metropolitan area where our primary job is to stock active shooters. I've hunted and fished all over this beautiful country, everything from whitetail on the East Coast and mule deer on the West Coast, and elk and bear and wolf and exotics, and buffalo. I've been a professional hunter and guide, professional firearms instructor, FBI certified, NRA certified, other three-letter government agency certified, professional firearms instructor for a lot of years. And as I mentioned first, the most alpha thing about me is I am a follower of Jesus Christ, the ultimate alpha male. With that being said, we'll get into today's topic. Now, before we get into today's topic, there's an older episode, Working Out Made Easy. You may want to go back and give that a listen. I cover some nutrition in there. This one is going to be entitled Simple Nutrition. So you can listen to it standalone, but I really recommend going back and listen to that older episode. They kind of go together. Today's topic, simple nutrition. Probably think I'm going to start off talking about food after introducing the topic, but I'm not. I'm going to talk about who you are. You have to get the order right. You are not a body that happens to have some kind of personality. You are a spiritual being who has a body. Your spirit is not subject to your body. Your spirit should be telling your body what to do. If you're a strong, dominant alpha male, you should have a strong, dominant spirit, and you should beat your body into submission. You are in control of when and what your body consumes. Do not let your body control you. Now, it was said to you in the intro that first and foremost, I'm a Christian. We'll get into our first Bible verse and how that ties in. In the first letter to Corinthians, it is written, "What do you have that you did not receive?" You didn't give yourself life. You didn't create yourself. You were created by God. The body that you were given, you didn't pick it. It was given to you by God. It is a gift, bought for, the Bible says, by the precious blood of Christ. Not by things like silver and gold, but by something more precious. You were bought with a price. You were redeemed by the precious blood of Christ. What do you have that you did not receive? Not only did you receive it, but you received it from God, whom you should fear, stand in awe of, and respect. And if he gives you something, then you should take care of it. So take care of your body. It is a gift. The next thing we're going to discuss before we even get into food is another often quoted verse. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. Now Jesus says, when he's asked, what is the greatest of all the commandments? He says, the greatest of all the commandments is, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. And the second commandment is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment, Jesus says, greater than these. You shall love your neighbor as yourself, which means to love your neighbor, you must first love yourself. If you don't love yourself, if you don't care about yourself or respect yourself or your body, you need to fix that before you about what you're eating. It starts there. You are a spiritual being. Recognize your body for the gift that it is. God made the heavens and the earth and the seas and all that is in them. He made every creature that draws breath. But he made man in his own image. God doesn't make junk, and he made you. Your body is not the most important thing, but it is an important thing, an important gift from God. All right, again, simple nutrition. Before we get into the food, before we get into the water, man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. Pray. Rejoice always and pray continually, it is written. It's also written, you do not have because you do not ask. Don't let that be you. You have access to the Father by your Savior, Jesus Christ, assuming you are saved. So use it. What a wonderful gift. It's written, you do not have because you do not ask. So ask and pray. If you need discipline, pray. As we just read, what do you have that you did not first receive? If one has discipline, he received it from God. If you want it, then ask for it. Ask for discipline. Ask for wisdom. Ask for discernment. Ask for self-control. Pray. Okay, now let's get into the less important thing of nutrition. After you fed your spirit on the word and on prayer, let's talk about food. Because I don't care how alpha male you think you are, if you don't have God in relationship with him, you're not the man that you could be. You're only a fraction of the man that you could be. Trust me, I didn't grow up a Christian. I speak from experience. No matter how big and bad you think you are, no matter how alpha you think you are, you're nothing without God. You're only a fraction of the man that you could be. All right, guys, let's talk about what should I be eating? Some simple rules. I will mention some things that I do in this, and I am not so vain as to think that everybody should do what I do. You would not be an alpha male if you just blindly listened to everything that I said and did everything that I said to do. Alpha males think for themselves. I know that I'm the one speaking, but this is our podcast. Let's talk about a rule that I think whatever your diet is will be helpful. Simple ingredients and few ingredients. I don't have any in my house, which ought to tell you something. Neither myself nor my wife eat things like this. But grab some Oreos or a pack of Doritos and turn them over. And after you get through like the corn syrup, the processed corn, the GMO corn, which we can save that as a whole nother rabbit hole, whether you should be eating genetically modified corn spliced with fish genes or whatever. But let's just leave that out. You don't have to go very far down the list of those. And I don't have any in front of me because, like I said, I don't have any in the house, which is probably a good rule in and of itself. Don't have it around. But you don't have to go far down the food label list to start getting into things that you can't pronounce. If you can't pronounce it, if you don't know what it is, why are you putting it in your body? No, I'm not perfect. I can't always sit down and eat a proper meal. Sometimes I will eat a protein bar, and there are some things in there. But in general, eat things that you know what they are with few ingredients. One of the things I'll talk about later is peanut butter, but there's a wide array of peanut butter. You can get peanut butter that just says peanuts as ingredients, which I would say great. You can get peanut butter that says peanuts and salt, which I'd also say is probably even better. But if it says sugar and a bunch of other stuff, probably don't get that peanut butter. You don't need sugar in your peanut butter. You don't need high fructose corn syrup or whatever else in your peanut butter. You need peanuts in your peanut butter. Things with simple ingredients, like broccoli. Here's a little tip I remember telling when I was an NCO in the military to my guys about nutrition. When you go into the grocery store, try and walk around the outside of the grocery store first. There you'll find fresh things like milk and eggs and broccoli and spinach and things on the outside, things with few ingredients before you start going to the inside, like where the frozen pizza and stuff is. But going back to the simple tenet, eat things that you know what they are. If you don't know what it is, probably shouldn't go in your body. Probably doesn't belong in your body. Some things you may research them, like sodium bicarbonate, and you realize that that's like baking soda, and that's fine to put in your body. Some things with really long, complicated names, you'll probably find that you probably shouldn't put it in your body in the first place. This is where I'm going to talk about, I don't like talking about myself a ton and what I do a ton, but I've been doing a low-carb diet. I won't say a no-carb diet because everything has carbs in it. Even a steak has carbs in it because blood has sugar in it. But I'm talking about carbs as a major source of my dietary calories. I've been on a low to no carb diet for a lot of years, long before I remember hearing keto being a thing. So that's what I do. But let us reason together, men. We're alpha males. We're intelligent. Now, I don't believe that we descended from monkeys or any other crap. Okay, we were made by God in His own image. But we are mammals. And we function like other mammals do in regards to like basic organ function and muscles and livers and things like that. And God made us to be an amazing, I should say He made our bodies to be an amazing flex fuel type machine that runs off all kinds of fuel. Some fuels are better than others. What other kind of mammal do you want to be like? Look at what eats grain. Look at what eats massive amounts of carbs in the form of grain. Domestic cows, maybe horses. And they can be strong and powerful, but I challenge you, anything that eats a lot of grain has a big belly. Do you want to look like that? Or do you want to look like a lion? Lions have a big chest and a sleek waist. Likewise, cheetahs. What do they eat? Now think about that. And think about maybe what you should be eating. They eat meat, i.e. protein, and fat. Let's go back to the analogy. What do pigs eat? Pretty much whatever is put in front of them. They'll pretty much eat whatever because they're pigs. Now, what do you want to be most like? A cow, a pig, or a lion? We're very blessed to be able to survive off many foods. But just think about that. And think about what the bulk of your nutrition is. Here's another simple tip. If you're listening to this, if you live in America or Western society, Western culture, where food is at a surplus, where food is at hand, where you can obtain food very easily, before you eat, reflect on, are you hungry? I know I probably shouldn't have to say that, but if you're not hungry, then why are you eating? Now, some people will eat because of feelings, because they're sad or depressed or whatever, but this is not the Some People podcast. This is the Alpha Male podcast. Don't give in to those feelings. You don't eat because you feel sad. You don't eat because you're worried, or at least you shouldn't. You eat because you're hungry. It's okay to rejoice and enjoy food and enjoy the taste of it. That's okay. But eat when you're hungry. That should be the number one reason you eat. Because you're hungry. The next thing I'm going to cover, and this ties into the thing we just talked about. The primary reason you eat something should be because you're hungry. And then it should be because it's what your body needs. Not taste. Taste buds are a great blessing, and I'm very thankful to have them. But in a world where things are engineered to make them taste in a way to make you eat them, and I'm not anti-science, I'm not against science, but when things are engineered with different scientifically proven things to make you eat more of them and to make them taste in a way that makes you crave them, Let's say the primary reason you should eat something is not for the taste. No doubt what we refer to as junk food tastes good. Oreos, Doritos, Twinkies, they taste good. But I don't eat those things. Like we went back to in the beginning, don't be ruled by what your body wants. You rule over it. You have dominion over it. Be an alpha male. You remember that old, I don't even remember what company it was, but you remember that old potato chip ad, I bet you can't eat just one? They must have written that to beta males, because as a man, you ought to be able to have control over how much you eat and don't eat. Eat because you're hungry. Give some thought to, is this what my body needs? And eat it for that reason. Now, you might disagree with me on this next part, and that's fine. But sugars. How long have sugars been common? Refined sugars, as in like sugar cane and refined sugars. You don't have to go back very far in human history to see that that's a very modern thing. And I would say that's not proper human food, refined sugar. Going back to nature and mammals, what are natural sources of sugar? Fruit and maybe honey, but honey's pretty hard to obtain most of the time. Fruit serves a very important purpose in nature, especially like a Northern European or Western European environment where my ancestors came from. Fruit is generally available in the fall, right before winter. And do you know why? Because most food's about to go away. So mammals eat that fruit to put on weight, to put on fat. Look at a bear eating berries. Mammals eat that fruit to get fat for the winter so they don't die. Now to clarify, when I'm talking about supplements, I'm not talking about like protein powder, protein bars, multivitamins, different kind of vitamins, vitamin D, probiotics, or even medicine like antibiotics if you need it. I'm talking about like harsh refined chemical drugs, anything from hydroxycut to steroids. When I'm talking about supplements, I'm talking about those kind of things. But do you live in that world? Are you planning on going months with very little food where you have to put on weight now to make it through a starving time? So examine that. Now, I'll definitely say that fruit is not as bad as refined sugar, but look at a glass of juice and see how much sugar is in it. All right, guys. Next, I'll talk briefly about supplements. And let me just say there's no magic pill that you're going to eat and be able to eat like crap and not work out and not sleep and be in awesome, great shape. That thing doesn't exist. And if it did, those things would probably be very hard on your internal organs, your liver. Going back to your body's being a gift, look at the long term. I don't know if you consider protein powder a supplement, but that's pretty much where I draw the line on me taking supplements. I mean vitamins like vitamin D and vitamin C. You heard my bio, I'm a big time shooter, so I take some eye vitamins, but barring like vitamins and protein powder and protein bars. I'm talking about like crazier supplements than that. I would examine whether they do more harm than good in the long term. Next, let's talk about water. Water is important. Again, going back to what you're drinking. If it's soda, I would advise against that. If it's diet soda or regular soda, I would advise you to do what we talked about in the beginning and turn that label over and read what's in it. See if you can read that label and honestly tell yourself that that's proper human food. Just because something is scientifically engineered to taste good does not make it food. You'd be amazed at how many calories you might be able to cut out if you switch from something like soda or juice to just water. Water should be the primary thing that you drink. If you really like soda, you can get just carbonated water or carbonated things like that that don't have any of the crazy stuff in it. Because even the diet soda has some strange ingredients in it, generally. Next, I'll talk about some of my favorite go-to foods, eggs. Eggs are a cheap, great source of protein and fat. I won't say that my wife and I eat eggs every night for dinner, but it's almost every night for dinner. Buy eggs by the flat, generally $1 something a dozen, maybe more if you live somewhere like California. That's a lot of protein for $1 something. You can go get them in the flat, 6 dozen at a time. If you can hunt and get your own meat, I really enjoy doing that. You heard my bio. But if you can't, eggs are a good, cheap source of nutrition. Even I don't provide all my protein by hunting. So eggs, they're cheap. They have one ingredient, eggs. They're good for you. Think about this, talking about nature. Everything needed to grow a baby chicken is in that egg. Now, granted, I know you're not a chicken, but they still have to grow muscles and ligaments and bones. So think about that. One of my other go-to sources of food is peanuts and peanut butter. I like a lot of other nuts, but peanuts are much cheaper. And if you look at the nutritional value, they're about as good as any other nut, and they're cheap. My wife kind of teases me because when we got together, she's used to buying these peanut butter in like the little tiny, 1 pound jars. Which is fine. I still buy those sometimes too. But when I start ordering it in a 28 pound tub, buying it in bulk, well, peanut butter is not that expensive. Even you can find some good healthy stuff where the ingredients are peanuts or peanuts and salt. Your body needs salt. But peanuts not that expensive. Peanut butter is not that expensive. And it's filled with protein. It's filled with fat. I know, going back to the lion analogy, the lions don't eat peanuts. But they do eat fat and protein. Another thing that I like to eat is 100% cocoa, chocolate. Not like a chocolate bar like you're thinking, like with sugar and a bunch of other stuff in it. Chocolate that has one ingredient, chocolate. If you look at the label and it says chocolate, good to go. It's fat, it's protein, and it's fiber. It's not going to be a sweet candy bar like you're thinking, but it is a good condensed source of energy that's good for you. I'm not telling you that you should be on a very low carb diet. I've been doing it for years. If you are going to eat carbs, some are way better than others. Refined sugar, I believe, being on the horrible end of that. And on the better end, your sweet potatoes, your purple potatoes, which aren't that expensive. And even cheaper still, the giant bag of Quick Oats you can get at like Winco, whatever your big giant store is near you. You can get a giant bag of Quick Oats with one ingredient, oats. And that's a good healthy source of carbs if you want it. Or a big giant bag of beans, which I have sitting out in the living room right now. I don't eat them on a regular basis. Like I said, I don't eat carbs as a big source of calories, but they're there for emergencies. I'll definitely eat them if I'm hungry and I'm starving and I can't get protein or fat. But preparedness is another topic for another day. But those are some good, cheap sources of nutrition that's probably better than the average American's diet. Today's episode is entitled Simple Nutrition, but don't forget rest. Rest is important. I'm sure there's a reason that God commands us to rest. And don't forget exercise. Exercise is also important. I say go back, and if you want to give that one a listen, Working Out Made Simple or Made Easy. I didn't mention in the bio, but I've been working out for pretty consistently, except for probably during the war, which is its own kind of workout. Been working out for over 20 years. I'm in very good shape, have been for a long time. But when I was in middle school and the very beginning of high school, I was a pretty fat kid. And I'm saying this to help encourage you guys and to say that it's not like I was born and went my whole life with a six-pack. I have abs now. I've had abs for a long time, working out for a long time. But at one time, I was fat. Not just like a little bit fat. Like I was fat. And I remember my freshman year, I had started out in ROTC. And I remember wrestling came up. And I had never been shy to fight. I thought I'll go in and check wrestling out. And my ROTC instructor and my wrestling coach was one of my great exposures to a good alpha male. Shout out to Floyd Gladden, a great mentor to me. I remember starting off wrestling. And like I said, I was a fat kid and I tried running. I don't remember how long the course was set, probably a few miles. I remember not even being able to make it to the first turn. And I don't know exactly what was going on in my head, but I had made up my mind that I wasn't going to be fat anymore. I'm not telling you to do this, but I'm telling you, I basically starved myself and I lost, I don't even remember, more than 50 pounds. This is in high school. This is as a freshman. I'm not that tall, guys. 50 pounds is a lot. And I can't remember exactly because I don't even want to remember how much I weighed when I was fat. But I dropped down to being very skinny in a very short amount of time to the point of probably being, well, not probably, I was unhealthily skinny. Getting into wrestling, I wrestled in weight classes that were far less than what I probably healthily should have wrestled at. But what I'm saying is I know what you're feeling. I know what it's like. It sucks. There's no quick fix. If you ate like crap for a long time, you're going to have to step up, be an alpha male, and have some discipline for some time to get out of it, to get back to being what you were created to be, strong and healthy. But I just say that to say that it can be done. That was over 20 years ago, and I've been consistently working out. There were some times during the war where I had to, eat MREs, which I would not consider most of that proper human food. Or sometimes as a cop where I was still working out fairly regularly, but the hours sucked and schedule sucked, and my diet was not as good as it is now. And as I mentioned, I played a lot of sports in high school. But don't ever say, I was in the best shape of my life in high school. If you've had some traumatic injury, you should be in the best shape of your life now, or you should be getting into the best shape of your life. I'm in better shape now than I was in high school. Not too long before getting out of the Army, a few years before, I won an Iron Soldier Award out of 70-something people, I think, that competed in this school. And up until my very last PFT in the Army, and this was only last year, the year before, 2020, I think I got out, beginning of 2020. I stopped being a soldier. I don't remember when I ran my last PFT, but I got a 300 on it. Now, I didn't do an extended scoring or whatever. I obviously exceeded the categories because a 300 is perfect. But most of the soldiers way younger than me aren't getting a 300. And I don't say that to brag. As we said in the beginning, what did I have that I did not first receive? I have been blessed with this body. I have been blessed with self-discipline. I've been blessed with perseverance. They're all gifts. I don't deserve them. As it also says in the Bible, to he who has, more shall be given, and he will have an abundance. Or take the talent from him and give it to the man who has 10. Use what you've been given. Self-control is like any other muscle or like anything else that you exercise. The more you exercise it, the more of it you'll have. I guess that's it, guys, on simple nutrition. Like I said, the body is a gift and it is important, but don't forget what's most important, God and relationship with him. With that, if you like this podcast, you may like a few others. If you like the spiritual side of this, you may like Simple Man Sermons. It's a more strictly preaching podcast, Simple Man Sermons. You are obviously listening to the Alpha Male podcast, and I do one called Gunfighter Life, which is pretty self-explanatory. You can find those all at goodshepherdtraining.com. You can also just look them up. Alpha Male Podcast, Gunfighter Life, Simple Man Sermons, and on whatever platform you're listening to this on. If you'd like to support, you can go to Patreon, Good Shepherd Training on Patreon. You don't have to. You're totally welcome to listen to this for free. If you have it in your heart to give, give. If you want to. If not, don't, and don't feel guilty about it. As I mentioned that other episode, Working Out Made Easy, if I can find out how to, because up until recently I just basically talked into an iPhone for this. I don't have the file saved anywhere. But if I can find out how, I'll try and rebroadcast that one too so you can listen to it or find it right at the top of the feed. With that, guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. It does help, or at least I think it helps in the algorithm. Other people find this message. Feel free to share this with anybody. As I said, this is not my podcast. Everything I have belongs to God. This is God's, and this is ours collectively. So if you want to be a bigger part of this, roll up your sleeves and help out. Share it with people. Like, subscribe. With that, guys, I'll say thanks. Have a blessed day. And be the alpha male you were made to be.